I've been meaning to make a video talking about this for a while because this is a topic that I'm very, very passionate about, that I feel very strongly towards. The title's kind of not an exaggeration at all, despite it being, like a classic YouTube title. The worst thing. but it kind of is. Because this is all about posthumous releases from artists, aka the music label that the artist is signed to, putting out music or, sometimes even worse, like private details, different merchandise after they've died to further cash in on the artist's reputation, its fan base that still exists and is still very much emotionally tied to maybe the death of a certain artist. And there's so many shameless examples of this happening that end up resulting in stains on the discography and legacy of many different artists that didn't even have the choice in whether or not they could agree to what has happened to them. But to let you know the gravity of fully what I'm even talking about here, let's start off with the first example. So the reason why I first found this out and why I began to feel so passionate about this is because one day I first discovered this when I was at a Target, and randomly while I'm in the book section, I see Kurt Cobain's notebook, his personal journal, being sold for about 20 bucks, 30 bucks, give or take. And so I pick it up just curious on what this is. I start flipping through some pages and I start to see some really personal passages, just like straight diary stuff that you would expect of just him, getting his thoughts out, him just talking about his personal life. Things that kind of would make anyone uncomfortable that they are reading themselves. It feels like it's almost just like an invasion of privacy, like you're going into someone's room, you're literally just reading their diary. Like there's a certain uncomfort factor to it, like you shouldn't be reading this. And this is especially true of someone like Kurt Cobain, who of course has struggled with depression, struggled with a lot of, mental problems throughout their entire life. So of course that's part of the things that he's writing about. To be fair though, that wasn't all the pages. There was some more acceptable stuff that I could understand, like what could be interesting releasing to the public, like rough ideas for like music videos or early lyrics of songs and whatever that you see all the time. But you'd be reading about early like Nevermind lyrics on one page, but then flip over and just get like completely jump scared of something deep, like insanely deeply personal and definitely should be private. Like this is just one example. I'm threatened by ridicule. I'm overly conscious of the sincerity of my voice. I like to have sex with people. I love my parents, yet I disagree with merely everything they stand for. I understand and appreciate the value of religion for some people, others. My emotions are affected by music. Punk rock means freedom. I use bits and pieces of others' personalities to form my own. Under what circumstances is that justified to release to the public as a fucking product? Courtney Love, who I think generally is way overhated, but apparently she was the one who edited and approved of this getting it published, meaning she also decided what would be included and what wouldn't be. And I just can't think of one justified reason why these specific passages of him just like using his journal, this is just his diary, why that should be sold for 30 bucks at Target to be just placed on someone's like fucking coffee table. That is insanely disturbing. That's next level. Even Kurt and Courtney's daughter, now that she's older, has spoken out about this being a regret that she wishes her mom didn't make public and something that should have stayed private. Because it's one thing if it was like demos or lyrics, but now it's marketed as like getting inside the mind of Kurt Cobain and trying to understand his troubled mind. Like what the fuck? Getting to know his deepest, darkest secrets from his own personal journal, which, by the way, his wife completely signed off on and said was just like a great idea to do. Just doing this for profit. This can be yours for just a few bucks. That's sick shit. I mean, he talks about his parents' divorce in here too and everything. I mean, he clearly used like, his journal and overall just like writing down his thoughts and feelings as some kind of coping mechanism or way to relieve stress and to work out his problems. It's a reality that I can't even like comprehend of my, deepest, most vulnerable personal thoughts that I'm writing for myself being manufactured as a product and sent out to millions of people to be bought. Sold for 30 bucks on Amazon. But this is my starting point. From here, I started to think about this concept a lot more and many other cases where potentially this like could have happened, or there's some weird exploitative behavior of artists after they pass away. And it wasn't too hard to immediately remember of a few cases that I've just personally witnessed in my own life. Modern rappers XXXTentacion and Juice WRLD, although I don't really personally care for their music all that much, they have been some of the biggest victims of this, if not like the worst. Their greedy labels have actually milked them for every last drop, every last ounce that they were worth, even in death. If you take a look at X's Spotify page, you'll be able to see that he has 7 albums out. 7 albums have been released in his name and 1 deluxe. Now, you'd probably be shocked to hear that only 3 out of these 7 have been released by actually himself when he was alive. The rest were released all after he passed away, which means the majority of his albums that he has to show were literally released without his fucking choice. Truly some sickening stuff. Now, to quickly qualify, there are ways and circumstances where close friends, producers, and collaborators release music from an artist after they pass away in an ethical way and in a good way that usually I'm fine with. Like, a good example is Elliott Smith. At the time of his tragic death, he was nearly done with his next album. So his producer, who was very close to him, and a couple of other people in his life helped finish off the finishing touches to release it to the public because they personally felt that was the right thing to do. That's like the gold standard and rare exception that I think is fine, like for me personally, when it comes to releasing an artist's music without their exact permission. But this is the exact opposite of like what happened with X. It's brutal. This album, let alone like all of these albums, were nowhere near finished, and to such a high degree that it is like such a complete insult and such a horrible way to stain an artist's discography like this. And I'm not even like an XXX guy. Like, I'm not even like, there's a couple songs that I think are like decent or whatever, but I don't have like this necessarily high respect for him. But I couldn't imagine being like a fan of this guy and like was deeply invested in his work and just seeing this happen. If this happened to like one of my favorite artists, I would just be fucking mind blown. Because this wasn't just like a one-off. This wasn't just, one last tribute album that they released afterwards. After noticing that like some milk was left after this first release, after he passed away, they just kept dropping more. They dropped another, then they dropped another, and dropped another, and got so desperate to literally milk anything from like X's catalog, they started releasing voice fucking memos of the guy. I'm not joking. They were so desperate to just get any stream in any possible way that they were releasing voice memos. 8 voice memos, man. What the fuck? It's crazy. I've never seen something like this. It's unbelievable. Voice memos from this guy's like fucking iPhone you're putting out just to get like a couple more streams? When is enough enough? Each album released was more incomplete as the last, and it's just an insane, disgusting, desperate attempt to make as much money as possible on a corpse. And all of it is an insane emotional manipulation of the dedicated fans who were actually emotionally invested in his art, in him as a person, that, they're relying on being so distraught, being so heartbroken that he was, taken too soon, so that they're going to be the ones, desperately clawing for anything they can get from him, even if it is voice memos. And they're preying on those people. This is the blueprint example of the exact opposite of an ethical tribute done to someone. And the craziest part? They still aren't done. They're still kicking it. They're still cracking it in 2025. This guy passed away in 2018, and still this year, the last people who I would ever expect having a new single out are apparently still dropping. What do you even say to this? Are you fucking kidding me? I guess legends truly do never die, because the labels will just like reanimate these corpses again and again and again if it means any dollars can come from it. A 2025 collaboration of Juice WRLD and XXXTentacion. Oh my gosh, man. And Juice WRLD is nearly just as bad of an example of this too, by the way. Like, same thing. He only released these 3 albums when he was alive, yet look at all of this bullshit. Even though Legends Never Die received a better reception than X's posthumous albums that came out afterwards, listening through this, it becomes increasingly obvious, especially as the album continues to go on, that it's just such unfinished work and lazy. Like, there's no reason that this album should have been 22 songs long, especially when you listen to some of these and they're just clearly unfinished and just something that should not be released. But what is Fighting Demons, man? Is this seriously the best tribute covers they could come up with too? These are killing me. The Party Never Ends 2.0? And don't mistake it, this label is just as bad as X's. I mean, I think this is the first time I've ever seen in my life 2 separate releases of the same album for the 3-year anniversary and the 5-year anniversary. What is that? Man, usually you see like 20-year anniversary deluxe, 30-year celebration anniversary, you maybe get like a remix. I mean, not even X's label had the balls to do this. This is kind of next level. You really can't can't wait 10 years? Is because you're worried that Juice WRLD isn't gonna be relevant in like 10 years, 20 years? Is that why? Gotta squeeze every last opportunity as fast as possible before the fans don't care about him anymore? They're celebrating 5-year anniversaries of their posthumous album and not his actual real ones that he released himself. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. This is some grim stuff. And you know, these are just a couple examples off the top of my head just for this video to get across the main points. But, you know, comment down if you know any others and maybe I'll talk about them again, because I bet there's so many, just an endless list of examples of different artists that have been taken advantage of in this way. This truly is like one of the worst things about the industry of all time. The worst thing that something could like happen to an artist. I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe for more stuff. We got good content coming on this channel. Thank you for the Patreon viewers for helping out the channel. If you want to shout out or be added to an exclusive Discord server, you can also join right there. Helps out a bunch. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys very soon with another video. And yeah, thank you.